And let's bring in Josh Martin, NBA featured columnist for Bleacher Report, joining us now on the Menards studio hotline. Josh, appreciate the time. LeBron's had LeBron-like games throughout this entire series. Is there any chance, or let me put it this way, what do you think the chances are that Cleveland does stretch this to a Game 7 tonight?
I think they're solid. You know, you got a desperate Cavs team playing at home, and a Cavs team that, you know, I think maybe now after trying to match the Warriors' small ball for at least Game 5 and parts of Game 4, will think, screw it. Let's go with what we've got. Let's go big. Let's see what we can get out of Mozgov's field. We can get out of Thompson. And, you know, certainly they'll be giving up something by going big because they won't be as quick or as athletic as the Warriors have become since they put Andre Iguodala in there for Andrew Bogut. But you figure that could give the Cavs a chance to really play to their strengths and to push this thing to 7 games.
You talk about going big, and I think you're right. And we've discussed that over the course of the show today and a little bit yesterday as well, about them deciding there in Game 5, Mozgov only playing. They pulled him pretty quick when they found themselves down by a whopping 8-2 early in the first quarter, and they only played, I think, 9 minutes for Mozgov. The reason for that, you think, just to try to match up with the Warriors? It feels like maybe the Cavs decided to play the Warriors game, where in the first 3 games of the series, it felt like the Cavs really were the ones that were setting the tempo. Can they get back to that by putting a Mozgov back in that rotation for a solid amount of minutes?
I think they can, but I don't disagree necessarily with David Blatt's decision to do that, first of all. I think, you know, that the way that the Warriors decided to play Mozgov might have caught the Cavs off guard. They were double-teaming Mozgov, forced a lot of turnovers, and Mozgov, you know, as good of a big as he is not that skilled. He's not a guy certainly who's used to getting double-teamed and passing out of it. So I think to that extent that was a smart decision. So, but you hope that, at least for the Cavs' sake, that they've figured that out, that they have a sense now of, you know, how it is the Warriors, they try to play Mozgov and can find some counters to that, maybe playing a little bit quicker in the pick and roll as opposed to, you know, posting up Mozgov, because he is not a one-on-one type of big. So, but that's really where the Cavs have their advantage, really the only advantage in the series, aside from having LeBron James and the Warriors not having it, is that Cleveland has size. They can play physical. They can really beat up the Warriors inside if they so choose. Obviously, again, they'll give up a little bit something on the other end, but I think right now, if the Cavs are going to go down, it's best that they go down with what's brought them here, and that's with their size.
Well, if Cleveland and David Blatt decide to go with Mozgov, does that force Kerr to give Bogut some time tonight? I mean, we didn't see him at all in Game 5.
Not necessarily. I think it really depends on how it is that the Cavs utilize Mozgov. If it's in a position where, you know, Mozgov is really beating them, where Tristan Thompson is really beating them, and the Cavs are so strong on the boards that the Warriors have no other choice but to put in a big, then sure, I'm sure we could see some Bogut. But I would imagine that Steve Kerr is going to take more of a wait-and-see approach. He's going to want to see what it is that the Cavs bring to the table, you know, what they're able to do on the glass. And if need be, then he goes to Bogut. But I think the fact that Bogut didn't even play at all in Game 5 tells you what Steve Kerr thinks about Andrew Bogut in this matchup right now.
They, I don't know how else to put this other than to just put it. Is LeBron is LeBron the MVP of this series?
So far, I think so. But, of course, we still have at least one more game to go. And I think Steph Curry is certainly right in that conversation as well. You know, Andre Iguodala has played well, but, you know, after missing all those free throws in Game 5, it's really tough to give the MVP to a guy who misses 8 straight. It's not really a good look. But for Curry, you know, he really has affected the flow of this series as much as LeBron has, if not more so. You know, Curry doesn't have the same numbers as LeBron, obviously, but you look at what the Cavs have had to do to contest Curry, to keep the ball out of his hands. You know, obviously the Warriors have gone to great lengths to do the same with LeBron and have had to adjust their game plan to fit what LeBron does. But I think Curry's right in that conversation as well because what he has done to affect the flow of this series.
This, if Golden State gets it done, which I think they will tonight, this team is, you know, with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, they're young. Is this a team that we could look at winning 2-3 titles in the next 7 to 10 years?
Well, that's tough. It's really tough to predict that in the Western Conference. If this was the East, then I would say sure that would be a great likelihood. Maybe not a great likelihood, but a solid likelihood because the East is so weak. But in the West, remember, you're talking about the Clippers being there and being really good, the Thunder coming back and being really good, you would presume, with a healthy Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook and Serge Ibaka. The Spurs doing what they do, the Mavs looking to upgrade, the Rockets going after a third star, and then all your other up-and-comers in the Western Conference with the Pelicans and maybe the Utah Jazz, and you go up and down. The West is just so good that I don't think you can really say that there's room for a dynasty. The Warriors, obviously, this season have been head and shoulders above the competition, but who knows what happens from year to year with health and the guys coming and going and with different roster moves that the Warriors are either going to have to make or feel inclined to make, just to keep up with the competition.
Josh Martin, NBA featured columnist for Bleacher Report, joining us on the Menard Studio Hotline. It's Ford and O'Brien, ESPN Evansville 105.3 and online, ESPNEvansville.com. Looking back to Game 6 tonight, Josh, we know LeBron's going to be the guy that takes the lead for the Cavs. He's been that guy throughout this entire series, especially after Kyrie Irving went down with the knee in Game 1 and knocked him out for the rest of the season. And it seems that throughout this series, there's always been LeBron and there's been that one other guy that has stepped up to kind of fill that void left behind by Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love, whether it's Tristan Thompson or maybe it's Matthew Dellavedova one night. Who's the guy tonight that's got to step up and be that guy that can be LeBron's second-hand man to give them a win and stretch this to Game 7?
And I don't think it can be just one. I think it's got to be multiple guys at this point. How much does LeBron have left in the tank, and really, how much do the Cavs have left in the tank to just let it be LeBron? They need everyone else to step up to some extent. It's not about which one guy is going to come in support of LeBron. You hope it's one, but it kind of has to be more than one. We've seen that last game, Tristan Thompson was good, and J.R. Smith had a solid first half, but things kind of fell off in the second half. We saw the Warriors run away. Similar thing happened in Game 4. LeBron was great. Mozgov was fantastic, but there really wasn't a whole lot of support there. It's going to require more than just one other player having a good game, especially against a team that's as deep and as talented as the Warriors, if the Cavaliers are really going to have a shot at this thing.
So does it end tonight, or do we go to a Game 7?
I wish I had a crystal ball. I don't, unfortunately, but I would tend to think that this one will go 7. The Cavs are at home. Role players tend to play better at home, and as weary as I'm sure Cleveland is, having that extra jolt from the crowd, and Cleveland does have a great crowd, I figure it might help to put the Cavs over the top, and at the very least, of all the sports heartbreaks that the city of Cleveland has had over the years, you would figure that the Cavs don't want to lose this series on their home floor in front of their home fans in a city that hasn't won a title for itself in 51 years.
Well, if it does go to a Game 7, they get 2 days rest. You are going back to Oracle, where Golden State rarely loses. Does Cleveland, with 2 days rest, they play very well off 2 days rest. If they can win tonight, do they have a legitimate shot at Game 7?
Yeah, I mean, any team that gets to a Game 7 is going to have a shot of some sort. But ultimately, I think you have to give a pretty solid edge to the Warriors in that situation because of the success that Golden State's had on its home floor, because of the success that the Warriors have certainly had when they've had that extra rest. And, we look back over the history of the playoffs in the NBA, and I think home teams are something like 80% winners when they have Game 7. So I would tend to think the Warriors would still be strong, but the fact that if there's still a game to play, that is still an opportunity for Cleveland to win.
With that thought in mind, how much would the experience factor play in? You've got LeBron, who's been there before. If it stretches a Game 7, could the Warriors get in their own way because they've not been there before?
That could very well happen. We saw that early on in Game 1 of this series, where the Warriors kind of looked out of sorts. It looked like maybe they were overcome by the moment to a certain extent, whereas the Cavs really came out strong. They seemed not at all daunted by the moment. They were in command to a certain extent. And I wonder if that would play out that same way as well in Game 7. Maybe not to the same extent because now everybody's had some finals experience. But as we've seen, over the years, Game 7 is a whole nother beast. It can really bring down even the best of the best. But LeBron, of course, has been through more than his fair share of Game 7. Some guys on the Warriors have been through Game 7 as well. Remember, they lost to the Clippers in the 7th game in last year's playoffs. But losing a Game 7 in the first round is not the same thing as playing in Game 7 when the championship is on the line.
Personally, I hope it goes Game 7 because I've enjoyed this finals series so much that I don't want to see it end, really, to be honest with you. But hopefully it goes Game 7. We appreciate the time. Josh Martin, featured columnist, NBA featured columnist for Bleacher Report. You can find him on Twitter at Josh Martin NBA. Appreciate the time, Josh. We'll talk again soon.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, take care.